Hello, this is Leisha Holmes of Key Recruitment, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined today by a very familiar face to myself, but obviously to a lot of my connections, you won't be familiar with this gentleman. So I'm going to hand it over now. This is Mark Neilan of Recruitment. Hello to you, Mark. How are you?
Hello, Leisha. I'm absolutely fantastic today.
Wonderful.
Looking forward to a chat.
Yeah, me too. Can't wait because we've got a superb topic. So for the benefit of those who aren't familiar with who you are and what you do, could you give us an overview of who you are, what you do, and then why we're talking today?
Yeah, my name's Mark Neilan. I've gone through, I guess, a decent recruitment journey. So I started off as a trainee, ended up recruitment business owner, went through a sale, and these days I help people start their own recruitment businesses up. I invest in them, I mentor them, and I kind of I give them a bit of coaching on the lifestyle and that kind of thing, and mindset, which I probably never thought I'd end up doing, but I absolutely love. And today, you said that you wanted, my perspective on dealing with fear, which is something I've kind of I do all the time, directly and indirectly, and help other people do. So I think it's a really interesting subject, and so I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as we record this, we are heading out of August. Obviously, COVID's been in our lives for the last 5 months, and I think fear has become a very prominent feeling and sense and sort of ambience to what's going on around us, which is why we thought today, given we share a very similar mindset, it's how people can manage their fears and use it to be positive rather than sort of allow it to, paralyze them with fear. Because I mean, for me, I saw a quote this morning that fear kills more dreams than failure ever will. And I think I want to kind of start with that in mind. So what do you think, sort of the reason that we're going to talk about this today, why is fear potentially a threat to, I mean, our audience is mainly recruiters. So why is fear a threat to the recruitment sector?
To anybody in recruitment, I think anybody, anywhere. So I've got three reasons or three indicators of success that I always talk about with people that I help and people that, I might be interested in investing. So there's three factors that will determine how successful you're going to be. One of them is how big your dream is. Okay, so if I'm thinking 20 times bigger than you are, you could hit 90% of your goal and I could only hit 65%, and I'm probably still going to do better than you. But yet, most people right out of the gate, so the first, in terms of kind of thinking about where they want to end up, they blow their own legs off by just not thinking big enough, and that tends to be out of fear. Because if we think, well, what's the number one fear, Leisha?
Failure.
That's it, failure. So very often, and I've done it myself, and certainly when I was younger, we don't want to set ourselves up for a fall. So we're a bit scared of going for those bigger goals because we think, oh, I'm a bit that's way outside of my comfort zone. Whereas, if you look at good old Elon, he's doing magical things, and that hasn't come from being scared about going for it.
No, it's a good example. So that's number one. What are the other two?
I mean, I'm terrified right now because I can hear loads of pitter pattering outside, and I'm telling you, this is a time bomb waiting to go off. So probably going to see a couple of little people very soon.
No problem. They can come and join us. I'm sure they've got some fears of their own. Don't let it lose your flow. That's the important thing. So that you said there were three key things about fear. So that the first was we just explained.
No, three factors that will determine how successful you are. The first one was the size of your dream. There are two others that aren't related to fear.
Okay.
But I guess I'll give them you for what they're worth. The second one is how brightly the fire burns. So be that energy levels or your drive, whatever you want to call it. And the third one is how resilient you are, how good your chin is. As I always say, the ability to keep getting back up. Now that one, I guess, is related to fear because And that's something that the position you want to get to, that you can only get to by doing. This is just my experience, from my personal experience, is if you get to the point where, if you keep getting a dig, you keep getting knocked down, and you just know you're going to get back up.
Yeah.
And I think that helps you. I think that really does help you manage fear, because you get to the point where it's like, well, look, what's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah.
And if I get a knockdown, I'm just going to get back up and have another go. So really, what is there to be scared about? But that's a lot. It's taken me 41, so it's taken me over 20 professional years to get to that point. But reality is, it's a whole, it's something that you work on, your whole life. I can still remember being terrified on my first day in recruitment, fear of making phone calls. I think a lot of people start with that. So learning to be really good at managing fear and failure is dead important, and I think it's dead underrated, actually.
Totally. It's interesting, isn't it? Because I've been in recruitment 21 years, so it's a similar sort of amount of time, and it's only when a personal thing happened to me, when my marriage broke down 3 years ago, and it was a very daunting time. You and I've talked about this many times, that I just realised that if it wasn't going to kill me, it was worth just fighting through that fear, all the different things I had to push myself out of my comfort zone. And sometimes it doesn't have to be a professional thing. And obviously with everything that's happened with COVID, a lot of fear is coming from the press and from the health factors. But, what's the greatest thing that will get you through it is knowing you're just going to get back up and get through it again. So I think resilience, the third point actually of the sort of 3 indicators of sort of what you look for in success, is that actually I think resilience is a really important trait to possess. But I think it's a very prominent thing to talk about, because it's probably a much more elevated a sense of fear at the moment, because it's just everywhere that you turn. So I think it's, like you say, a much broader sort of culture at the moment than it is normally just in a day-to-day running a recruitment desk. So obviously you've sort of been supporting, coaching and investing in entrepreneurs for the last few years, which is absolutely so exciting, and you've got a number of sort of testimonies to talk through. So how can entrepreneurs particularly that are watching this, how can they manifest their fears into something positive?
Okay. Well, get better at, I think, just face it down, right? So to turn fear into a positive, you've got to get good at dealing with fear, right? So there's what's the book? Feel the fear and do it anyway. So what's the advice that your dad gives you or your mum gives you when you're scared of something? They tell you, don't they, to confront it, to go and do it. I can't remember, there's probably an expression or something that I'm missing, but it's basically whatever you're scared of, you become not scared of it just by staring it in the eye and doing it. And because very often, if we want to improve, we have to do something new. That involves change. But very often when we do it, what was once new becomes kind of second nature and the new comfort zone. So there's no substitute for just getting on and doing whatever makes you scared. And one of the things that I've become, the older I get, the more experienced I get, the more interest I have in building resilience and working to really improve my resilience levels. And a great way of doing that is exercise. Okay. Because what happens is our mind will want to tell us to stop way before the body will need to stop. We've got the computer, because the brain just wants us to be comfortable, doesn't want us to take any risks. Whereas growth comes from struggle. I mean, that sounds a bit negative, but it's true. Growth does come from struggle. So, I believe that a simple way, basically practice struggling and struggling well. And a simple way of doing that is pushing yourself physically. That will that builds mental resilience. And I think that helps you when you are doing things, new things at work that might be initially scary. But the long and short of it, as any entrepreneur knows, there comes a point when you've got to take the leap and you've got to do something. And, you know, from just making a start, you kind of work it out.
You do. And it doesn't always have to be strategic, does it? You can just literally throw yourself into something and just learn it on the go. But like you say, it's taking those first steps forward. You know, I think it's brilliant that you've used sort of the physical aspect and fitness as a really simple way for people to think, you know what, maybe somebody watching this has done the couch to 5K during lockdown, or they've gone from using a 6K kettlebell to a 10K kettlebell, you know, small jumps where you, at some point, your body's gone, bloody hell, you know, I can't do this. And I've done that myself in fitness. And, you know, it's those steps.
You know, I'm dead passionate about this, right? Because there's loads of people out in recruitment, you know, there's a load of magpies. I'm kind of one of myself. You know, we all love a good new tech tool, you know, and a way whereby, you know, we can improve the way we do our job.
Video's gone off for some reason.
Oh, okay.
We're not sure why. Bear with the audience.
We're back.
Yeah, we just had a good then. Carry on.
Yeah, so I think it's so. I don't think there's enough focus on helping people to build resilience even now, and really understanding the way our minds work.
Okay.
And yet there's loads of focus on getting more external tools to help us do the recruitment job. A lot of them are great, help productivity, but in these times of massive uncertainty where change, you know, is just it's everything is needing to change, like all of the time. We need to be really, really good at it. And I think it's really, really important now more than ever that people become experts at managing their own stress levels, at being in uncomfortable situations. And yet most people don't understand what's going on in their own brains and how they feel, and have no way of turning that into coping mechanisms, whether that's exercise or anything else. One of my best mates, right, he's a physio and dead passionate about what he does. And I love talking to him about, you know, the body and stuff, because the less he teaches me stuff that I just know are really, really relevant to work. So I'll give you the one that he was telling me about the other day, right? He says, look, one thing that is guaranteed every day for every human being, even if you're not stressed out, is cortisol. I'm like, right, okay. And cortisol apparently is the stress hormone.
Yeah.
So even if we're quite sedentary, we produce a lot of this cortisol, the stress hormone. Now, add something like COVID to it, and, you know, jobs drying up and all the rest of it in recruitment. Even a normal recruitment job in a normal recruitment economy, you know, is stressful, ups and downs, all the rest of it. And you've got shitloads of cortisol, right? Now, there's only one, he was telling me, there's only one natural coping mechanism or antidote for cortisol production. Do you know what it is? Exercise. That's it. Yet what I've done before, and what a lot of people do, is they'll look for other ways to cope. You know, it might be a pint of Stella, or, you know, it might be gambling, or any. But yeah, and that's an unnatural suppression of the cortisol, and it's just going to make you feel worse, right? So I'm just really, really passionate about. I think if people can understand the body a little bit more, and can work really and put a little bit of time into a plan to make sure that they're feeling better, then that's going to give them the very best chance of coping with like massively high levels of cortisol and all of this mad change that's going on at the moment. And whilst this is all really tough at the moment, whether you want to look at it from like a company, an organization, or a team point of view, or individually, you know, it's not hard to beat the field now, because most people, I don't think most people understand this stuff and how important it is. I didn't understand this stuff 5 years ago, you know, and it's really worth investing a bit of time. You can beat the field quite easily if you're able to be a bit cooler and focus on the process.
Yeah.
Rather than the chaos.
Yeah.
Because you feel okay when everybody else is going batshit crazy.
It's really interesting, isn't it? And so, in terms of the people that you've invested in so far, what's the best practice that they've all individually or as a combined sort of collegiate, what have they done to take your advice on board? Are there any particular examples where they've done that well?
Well, yeah, definitely. So they will do different things. I think the people I've invested in, I'm really, really proud of them. I think they're doing. I think they're weathering the storm well. I do. They're only, a lot of them are small businesses, and I don't think all of the work and all of the talk that we did pre-COVID about mindset and the importance of it harmed that at all. And I know for a fact, if you go up, you'll see some of them lift big weights. You'll see some of them are just, one of them sent me a video there last night. He's doing this big mad, fitness burpees, SEAL training, squat throw, all this mad gear. So exercise, it seems to be a thing for all of them. There's a lady that's completely transformed her life after having a heart attack. And if you want to look at healthy living, and she smashed it through all this, absolutely smashed it, and on top of that lost loads of weight and completely changed her lifestyle. And then other stuff that people do is they actually act on all the mindset stuff. So I think there's a load of bullshit talk, frankly, about, you see it every year, be kind to yourself and all that in recruitment, from a load of recruitment businesses that actually do fucking nothing on all of the other days. Bullshit, it's bullshit. Well, I'll tell you, a lot of these businesses that I'm helping, they're engaging with psychologists.
Yeah.
The small business engaging with psychologists to help them tick better. I mean, the words I've used are probably aren't right. I'm no psychologist, but I think it's important to, I think how we feel dictates how we act. And if you want to understand your mind and you want to help the people that work for you, you're not an expert in it. I'm not an expert in it. Get a psychologist in and get them to give everybody a lift, so that, because it's getting help from the experts in the individual areas that will enable all of the team to come up with their own coping mechanisms, so they feel better and can cope with all of this volatility and uncertainty.
And everybody's an individual, and everybody copes with it differently, and everybody manifests it differently. Sorry about the background noise. My dog's obviously heard some keywords.
That's all right.
I don't know if he said walk or something, but he got very excited.
I can't hear it because it sounds like the kids are having a rave outside.
It's all right. It's all real life. And so, speaking of individual, what's the greatest fear that you, Mark Neilan's had, and how did you then overcome that fear?
Right. Okay. Right. Well, have you ever done them psychometric type profiles?
Of course.
Okay. Mine always, every time I do one of these, it still has this in it, and it's true. And it says kind of, Mark Neilan may have a fear of failure. And so my fear is just boringly the most common fear that everybody else has. I could elaborate on that. What does that mean to me? That means failing as a dad, failing as a husband, and failing when it comes to realizing my potential, which for me is about helping other people.
Yeah.
It's nice to earn a few quid. I deserve it. I'm good, and the people I help deserve it, and they're really good. Yeah. But ultimately, it's about doing it. Feeling like you've made the most out of what you've got. So I don't want to have. And I could sum all that up by saying, I don't want to be one of those people, when you're older, and I've got regrets.
No.
I just don't want that to happen. I really don't want that to happen. So I'd much rather have a go. And I obviously, in the line of work that I do, that's been one of the massive eye openers for me doing this that I've kind of found really interesting. Is I hear the same thing quite a lot from people who are thinking about running their own recruitment business, and those kind of things are, I'll do it when this happens, or I'll wait for this bonus, and I'll do that. And, the procrastination vibe. And you do see people who are genuinely terrified to take the leap. And for me, I'm kind of thinking, look, mate, you're really good. You've got the experience and you're great. And I think you'd be fine, to be honest. And very often I just end up telling people, you're all right, you can do this. I think there's so many people, you know, are out there working for recruitment wankers, you know, dickhead bosses, recruiting like it's 1999.
Yeah.
Stuck in the ways. They hate working for them.
Yeah.
But they take it. They take it because they're terrified of taking this leap. And the thing is, I know there's so many more people could do it for themselves than don't. But unfortunately, the barrier is fear. And a lot of people find it really, really difficult to kind of get over it. You know, sometimes that's where I come in and help them do it.
Absolutely. So go on, wait, right now, what would if you had someone watching this now that was thinking I can do this better, but I'm just too scared because of X, what would you say to them?
Okay. So I'd say what I say to people when I meet them on this, and this is, have you heard of Tim Ferriss?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I think I was listening to a podcast or something that he did on this once. It's really, really good. He talks about the Stoics a lot, and Stoics sound quite boring, but they're actually sound quite negative, stiff upper lip type thing, but they're actually quite positive, because what they realised was the human brain has the capacity to be drawn to negative outcomes more than positive outcomes, right? So, and that comes because what do you got, reptilian brain, or, you know, that's been developing over millennia. You know, it used to we used to get chased around by dinosaurs. So the fear thing there was a good thing because it was keeping us alive.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, fear can still be a really great motivator, and fear can still be really, really useful for us because it stops us kind of getting run over by cars and stuff. So there's good things about fear. But the problem is we've managed to take and repurpose the fear of being eaten by dinosaurs into being terrified about, you know, setting up a recruitment business. It's not it's not the same thing. So anyway, what Tim Ferriss says is he kind of says, look, score it and try and look at making a balanced decision, right? So the way that you do that is score it out of 10 and ask yourself these two questions. Question number 1, if you do it and it goes wrong, what are the chances of this having a permanent negative impact on your life? Okay. Right. Now, most people in the situation of thinking about whether or not they want to go for it, are you going to struggle to get another recruitment job? Alicia, if they ring you up, if they're a decent biller, are you going to struggle to get another recruitment job?
Not now.
No. Right. So if it all fucks up, you can go, right. If it all fucks up, you can go back and do what you're doing now. Worst case scenario, right? Yeah. Right. Now, on the other side of the coin, ask a similar but different question. If it all goes right, what are the chances of it having a permanent positive impact on your life? Now, just think of how much more it means to you when you're recruiting for yourself. Every deal means more. Just think about how your family feels and how proud they are of you that you're doing it for yourself. Just think about all the extra cash that you're making as you're not giving it to your recruitment wanker boss. Yeah. You know, just think about how it will feel to be recruiting to work towards your own dreams rather than helping somebody else hit theirs. So it means more. And if you get it right and it goes right, it's going to have a much bigger permanent positive impact on your life than if it goes wrong, where the permanence of the negative impact probably won't be so bad. You probably get a job doing what you're doing now, or similar.
Definitely. You actually asked a question of me the other day to ask on to a third party, and I've just bottled that now and thought that is just the best question ever. And that is, do you feel that you're fulfilling your true potential where you are? And I mean, it just makes me go goosebumpy, because that every recruiter should be asking every candidate that now. Because if they are, then you know what? Absolutely. But if you really feel like you're not fulfilling your potential, then what have you got to lose? Because like you say, those two questions are absolutely, you know, simple.
Yeah. And if you're somebody, you know, I think the best people to run businesses, or the best professionals, are people who just want to improve every day. The best sports people, no matter how old they are.
Yeah.
They just want to improve all the time, trying to improve.
Yeah.
And why let fear get in the way of that?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with you totally. So you are my book guru. I think my bookshelf creaks because of the recommendations that you're constantly. No, it's good. It's good. It's good. So, in relation to this particular topic, are there any sort of books that you would refer people to as a go-to that they can order off Wall or Amazon?
Okay. Yeah. Right. All right. There's Okay. Right. I'll tell you what. I'll give you a wacky one. Not a wacky one, but you know, if you're a deep thinker, you'll like this one. It's a book called Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. So was a book written about 2,000 years old by the Roman emperor, and man, this guy went through all kinds of shit. He had everything going. He had revolts. He had health problems. He had all kinds. But yet, he was one of the most productive and kind of successful Roman emperors there was. And what he did is he went around. He was like writing little notes in his book, little booklet of how to live his life, and these were never intended to be seen or, as far as I understand, seen or read by anybody else. But what's really interesting is they often say, you know, history doesn't repeat itself, but you know what? Sometimes it rhymes. And the things that we're going through now with COVID, you know, we think that this is the first time anything like this has ever happened. You know, because there's this myth of control out there that we can control things. Recruiters are really bad for that. Actually, the best recruiters are control freaks. We like to control things, but sometimes we want to control things so much that when the event, whatever happens, doesn't equal our expectations, that can lead to like really, really serious unhappiness. Well, Marcus Aurelius wrote down a load of principles in terms of how to live your life. And how to, a lot of them were fear related, how to kind of overcome fear that are as relevant today as they were 2,000 years ago. So that's a great book.
Definitely.
I've recommended one to you loads of times. The Obstacle is the Way.
I was just about to say that one. I have recommend that to every single person that I've spoken to during COVID. That's a book that read books. It is for anyone watching that is not particularly into, you know, hardcore business books. It isn't. I read it in 2 days in the first week of lockdown, and Mark had been telling me to read it for about a year, and it is just a life-changing book, quite literally.
Yeah.
Whatever you think your obstacle is, you realise that that's what you need to work through to get to the next point.
Yeah.
Such a good book.
And there's a classic, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. It's obviously very relevant to this conversation, and that's basically, if you want to improve, right, do something that makes you uncomfortable every day. Right, and stare it down. Intentionally go and find fear. If you want to improve, that's what you've got to do. And it's like a muscle. Yeah, it's like a muscle that you can train. Because if you're sat there, you know, whether you're doing a recruitment job or whether you're really senior or you're running a recruitment business or any business at all, and you just want to stay in this little comfort zone, the world is going to impose its will on you.
Yeah.
Because everything's changing and you're going to get dragged along in a direction you might not want to go in. So to make sure you're able to take your life in the direction and get the outcomes that you want, it's likely that you're going to need to do things that are going to make you really, really uncomfortable and that are going to make you scared. So practice getting uncomfortable and get better. Intentionally find struggle and find fear would be and do it in little ways. Start small.
Yeah.
And all of the books I've mentioned there would I would imagine back that up.
Yeah, 100%, and they do, and honestly, they're life-changing books. I would definitely get the meditations on. That's brilliant. Well, look, it's been an absolutely brilliant video. I knew it would be, and for anyone who wants to connect to Mark, you know, he's an absolute life-changing coach and mentor. He's somebody that I'm very fond of you. You know that, and your kids were brilliant. They didn't come in.
Thank you, darling.
Were they bribed with chocolate and biscuits? No doubt by your wife.
Yeah, I think, you know, for anybody watching this, you know, what I would say, what is really important, right? Just don't sweat it. You know, don't worry. There's like, everyone's terrified. I've been through all this. I've been scared about stuff. You know, we're all trying to work something out. Anybody who is trying to like put it over that they know it all and all that stuff, it's bullshit. It's complete bullshit, right? But you know, what you can do is you can get better at handling all of the chaos and get a little bit more comfortable with whatever's happening, and that'll help you improve. So, you know, don't feel like you're the only person that is scared. Just maybe look at a way where you can get better at handling the fear, so you can take action in spite of it.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's brilliant. What a great way to finish. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
All right, Alicia. Take care. See you later.
Bye.